Hello, everyone. I'm Gabriela Casineanu, founder of Introverts Academy. I'm an award-winning author and professional coach. And today with me is Gerard Keledjian. Gerard, would you like to say a few words about yourself?
Thanks, Gabriela, for the opportunity to be a guest on your show. So I'm Gerard Keledjian, as you mentioned, and I run a small business for content creation and video production. It's called New Horizons Media, where I work with a team of mainly internationally trained media professionals and also students, Canadian-born students, to assist Canadian not-for-profits with their content needs, with getting their message out and connecting with their clients and partners. And part of New Horizons Media's work is we produce Canada's only TV program for newcomers, which is called New Canadians. It airs on the leading multicultural channel in Canada, Omni TV, and it's also available on the website newcanadians.tv. So I'm a media professional by background. I'm originally from Lebanon of Armenian heritage, and I immigrated to Canada in December 2010, and I became a Canadian in 2015.
Wow. Thank you so much for joining me today. And thank you for being open to discuss a topic like how creativity shows up in our life, because I know that you are a creative person, being a journalist, but from what I know about you, we've met several times since that first event when we met each other. So let me put here two books and how this played a role in us meeting and getting up to here. After that first event, a few years we didn't see each other, and we met at a job fair when you had a booth with New Canadians and I had another booth with my first book, Introverts Leverage Your Strengths for an Effective Job Search. And that's how we reconnected, and we collaborated on several projects since, one of them being my book, Quiet Lessons for the Introvert Soul, where I interviewed the 11 introverts, and you were one of them. And that's how I found out about your story, your interesting story, how you started New Canadians. And I followed you since then, and every year almost you have a different season and you bring something new. And I'm curious, how do you find that creativity to kind of reinvent yourself or add to what you've done in the past? So how the creative process shows up in your life, career and
Uh,
business?
yeah, that's a big question, I should say, but let me try to answer it. First, I'm thankful that we met. We were at the right time and at the right place, so we connected. And that connection or that networking is the key for many immigrants, most immigrants in succeeding in Canada. And obviously, networking helped me as well be able to be creative, be able to connect, and to be able to find solutions as well. Immigration or immigrating to a new country, in my case, I immigrated to Canada. It's a big thing. No matter how much you prepare, how long you prepare, or you think you're prepared, it's a big thing. You're leaving everything behind: people, family, friends, things you've used to, and you're starting from scratch. And that takes a toll on you, obviously, personally and professionally. Professionally, you have to go back a few levels. You can't start right from where you left. It can't happen in any country. Not because it's Canada. It can't happen even in Lebanon, where I am from. You can't start from where you left off. So you have to take a few steps back. In my case, my background was media, and I've always worked in news, initially print, then magazine, then broadcast news. So I've kind of grown and worked in that environment. So my initial plan was, after researching while I was still working in Dubai, uh, working for a Canadian news channel. So I came to Canada with that plan. So I either working for mainstream Canadian channels like CBC News or CTV News, one of these channels. But that didn't happen. So that was the shock that I wasn't expecting, because I used to work for an American channel, very well known American business channel. So everyone knows about that channel internationally. So and especially Canadians being next door to the States. So if they wanted to verify, this was my thinking, if they wanted to verify any of my experience or my work and stuff, it was going to be very easy for them. But that didn't happen. And that kind of threw me off track, that the plan I was making for 3 years before immigrating to Canada, from the day I submitted my application to the day I actually landed, I realized that that's not working. So soon after
would
sorry?
you say that Einstein quote, we can solve problems by using the same kind of thinking we used when we creating them? Would you say that this applied to you in this situation? How you
Yes,
get out of it?
yes, it applied. It took me some time to realize that, because initially I because of not being enough prepared for or prepared in the right way, I couldn't get my foot in the door of a Canadian media agency and media organization, and I switched to looking. Let's say I dropped broadcast news and I started looking for jobs in social media or jobs in print, or and that's not productive. That's on the contrary, it's counterproductive. And so there were a few months initially, 5-6 months, I would say, at the very where I completely got confused and had the shock of this plan I had, this strategy I had for 3 years. It's incomplete. There's something missing. I hadn't thought of an initial phase. So, and all the pressure from around me to find it, everyone who I was meeting, and did you find a job, or even when calling back home, did you find a job? So that pressure didn't allow me to think. But eventually, because of my skills or my strengths and my experience, I was able to kind of craft my own path forward and find out a solution. My initial goal, as I mentioned, was to work for a Canadian news organization. Okay, that's not possible, at least for the time being. What can I do? Let's say my work, my recent work in Dubai was for the American Business Channel for 8 years. So that didn't count here. So I was thinking, what do I need to do? So I realized that I need to come up with a local work experience. I wouldn't use the word Canadian experience, but I needed to get that local work experience, which will allow me to understand better from the kind of the inside how organizations work, media organizations in Canada, to meet with producers, with anchors, with directors, and make those connections through working on the ground and showing something that's produced, that's made in Canada. Not I'm kind of putting in on my resume just a few words, but no, real work that's been produced, made in Canada. And unfortunately, the media sector is difficult. It's closed in Canada, so there are not many opportunities. It's a small sector as well, though the country is very big. So I managed to find a volunteering opportunity in a community channel. It was very basic opportunity, kind of one size fits all, because different members of the community had to participate and benefit. So it wasn't customized for people who had a media background. But it was the only opportunity, so I took it. However, it used to make me down. Every time I used to go to the station, I used to enjoy meeting the friends I was making there, and some of them were immigrants like me, and they had the same objective, getting some local experience that they can use to as a stepping stone towards a bigger or better opportunities. But the work itself was very primitive, and I was thinking that, I mean, should I continue or and I did try a few times to uh, kind of make my way there. I wasn't successful initially, but I figured out eventually that there's this opportunity to pitch an idea, a show idea that the channel would help produce it for 1 year, one season. That was their mandate. Every year they need to rotate. So I was able to convince them that this is a good idea. Coming from my experience, obviously, by that time, about 5, 6 months had passed. And I had started learning that, yes, the immigration journey is challenging, but there are so many things I can do. There are so many services I can make use of, steps I can take, resources I can kind of tap into that would, if they won't solve my challenges, at least they would minimize it, or they would help me kind of overcome them as and move on to at least a better situation. So I managed to convince them that there is a gap on Canadian television for a program that helps newcomers, because new immigrants, when they come to Canada, you've been an immigrant newcomer at one point, Gabriela. You know, everyone from your left, from everyone around you gives you advice. But people sometimes they don't know how to explain, or they don't kind of help you see the value. Sometimes you don't get it. In my case, for example, someone after 3 months very briefly mentioned a bridging program, and he didn't explain. And I was, from what the few words he had mentioned, I thought that if I want to go back to school, why would I take a bridging program when I can take the regular program? Why would I, this program that I don't understand, why would I take it when I can just go to a regular university or college and take a program as anyone else? So after that, another 3, 4 months passed till I started realizing what is a bridging program, what's the value of it, and though it doesn't guarantee anything, it doesn't guarantee a job, but hey, I can use it in this or that way to my benefit, as a tool in my strategy box to move forward. So I wanted to explain those concepts that were sometimes difficult to understand for newcomers, like mentoring, bridging, or networking. Uh, I wanted to show it to them instead of telling them that, hey, you need to go and find a mentor for yourself, or you need to take a bridging program. I wanted to show through storytelling, because through stories, that was my strength, right? I wanted to show to them how different people, how different immigrants from different parts of the world, each was using these tools in different ways that work for them to move ahead in Canada. So, and TV, because it was Canada's, because TV is a public medium that enters every house. I wanted to enter every house. Initially, it was in Toronto only during the volunteering time, and explain to every new immigrant who comes to Toronto, these are the resources, because it was very difficult for me to, after thinking that I was prepared for 3 years, to get that shock that I wasn't prepared, that I didn't know about all this, that I didn't know about that finding employment is challenging, that there are a whole bunch of resources, agencies, services, tools that I can use to move ahead. Instead of struggling 18 months like I struggled, I could have maybe struggled 2 months or 3 months, or maybe I struggled less to find my first employment, for example. And that's how that show was born. I'm very grateful for the channel, Rogers TV, the community channel, that they allowed me to produce a small season in Toronto. And initially, the plan was not to continue, by the way, just to use that as a local experience to get to my initial plan, which was working for a Canadian news channel. However, it was a very rewarding experience in the sense that I saw the impact of my work when working in news back in Dubai or Lebanon. I mean, we inform people, but we never saw the impact. We just informed like the next news bulletin or the next news bulletin informing people about what's happening in the world. Usually it's sad news as well, bad news that those make it to the news. But here I saw the impact because I was meeting newcomers, I was meeting immigrants, and every day, like at conferences, at job fairs, at meetings, and people were approaching me and telling me, "Hey, I saw this about this program on your show," or I learned that there's this engineer, for example, who succeeded from my ethnic background. Can you help connect me with him? These ways, I started seeing examples, and I realized that whatever I was doing, I need to continue. This was on the newcomer side, but also on the agency side, those agencies that were serving newcomers, because the show helped me connect with them and know more about their work, meet let's say the executive directors or the managers that were running these programs. There were so many good programs that they were doing, but it was unfortunate that no one or not many people knew about them, that they could go and benefit from them. Most of these agencies, they didn't know also to promote their programs or their services. Or they didn't have the resources, the money, the fund, or technical resources to promote. So I realized that the show I was producing as a volunteer was filling a gap, really filling a gap, and helping both sides, connecting newcomers to resources and services, and also connecting those agencies to newcomers so that they could help them. And I wanted to continue beyond the volunteering opportunity because it was short. It was just one season. But I didn't have the funding. I didn't have, because though I had the airtime on the channel, but I had to produce it myself. So that was a challenge and a dream at the same time. For 2 years, I continued chasing that dream. Sometimes I gave up, I have to say. But sometimes whenever I saw a person who mentioned the show or something they saw on the show, that dream woke up again. And I was able to relaunch it in 2015. By that time, obviously, I was more experienced as well and more knowledgeable. And I decided that I don't want just to broadcast it in Toronto because newcomers are going everywhere in Canada. I wanted a national platform. And that's when I connected to Omni, the leading multicultural channel, because ethnic communities, immigrant communities were already familiar with the channel. So now there's a dedicated show every week for newcomers, so they can direct people to. That's what I wanted to be, the show where if you met a newcomer on the street and they ask you about something, you can tell them, there's this show on TV, watch it, you will really benefit from it. And by 2015, I also realized that I even want to go beyond what TV allowed me to go. TV was obviously national in Canada, but I wanted also to put it online so that I can reach newcomers even before they come in their countries of origin, so that they are better prepared. Even if they were not still eligible for some of the programs, I wanted them to know about those resources so that they can plan their journey accordingly. And when they arrive in Canada, they arrive in a better position and they can succeed faster and in a bigger way, I would say.
Yeah, if you noticed, you've got a comment here, Jackie. Thank you for sharing the story. It is inspiring because you kind of reinvented yourself several times in this process. And many people are going through these processes. Maybe they don't realize that they are creative when they overcome challenges. It could be immigration, it could be the pandemic, it could be starting a business, it could be changing a career. So we are creative beings. We just have to recognize that when we are challenged in a situation, there are ways we can do, instead of feeling a victim and dwelling into that feeling. Ask yourself, what can I do? And I found interesting, I was taking a course at one point, and it was a course about brand storytelling by Guillaume, I don't remember his last name. He mentioned that the creative process has three parts: break, bond, and build. And this is how I looked at the stories that you just shared with us. You came to Canada, you came with a certain way of thinking, and you had your own expectations. When you hit a wall where that didn't work, you had to break and look for new information, new ways of doing things, new ways of looking at things. And you start bonding all this together, and you start building something. So that was when you started the first 1 year with Rogers. Then you realize that you're not happy with that, and you apply the process again. What can I do? And to look for opportunities, and you build again the New Canadians. And every year you're kind of bringing new things. During the pandemic, I let you share what you did when the pandemic hit, because you couldn't go out there and record those videos anymore.
Yeah, New Canadians being a TV show, obviously, we used to, before the pandemic, we used to travel across Canada, filming all this work that was being done to support newcomers. We had obviously some virtual activities, but very few. And the beginning of the pandemic was kind of forced the world to pause, and you can't do anything. You can't go out. You can't. But newcomers were coming, and I myself, I had a mentee who I was mentoring pre-arrival. So he arrived just 2 days before the lockdown.
Oh.
And even we didn't even have time to connect. We were supposed to meet in few days, but then the lockdown happened, and so he was stuck two cities kind of after where I live. So he needed help, obviously, and there were so many others like him. I thought that they needed help. So what can we do? We on TV we had some initially we kind of kept repeating some episodes and working with some material that we had pre-filmed and we could edit and air at that time. But that was not enough. We wanted something interactive, and so that people at least don't feel alone. They can come and join and can ask questions. And even most of the immigrant serving agencies at that point, they were still not online. They were many agencies were not online, and they were still figuring out what can we do? How can we move all these workshops that we have that were designed and delivered in person? Suddenly we can deliver it on a virtual platform. Which platform we will use? So we were quick, obviously, to move, and we already had the platform. And I gathered the team. I said we need to do something, and to help those newcomers who had just arrived in the previous few weeks and who were maybe arriving during the lockdown. And we came up with this idea. Let's have a casual discussion, and every time bring in one of our experts or friends, and also newcomers who were kind of succeeding in something, and let's have a chat about let's say, how can you topics, for example, how can you network virtually, or how can are there jobs available in this pandemic that you can apply for? This or mentoring and stuff, everything virtually. So we wanted that casual discussion space, and which we didn't have also on TV. Our TV program is recorded, so we don't have that interactive, engaging function, I would say. So we wanted that space to where we also could discuss what we broadcast on TV if needed. We came up with Cafe New Canadians. We wanted to call it a cafe so that it's casual. And initially, in the first few weeks of the pandemic, we organized few sessions a week. We didn't wait. Let's come up with a session, promote it for a few weeks. Then let's have we spontaneously agreed today on the topic, deliver it tomorrow. The first few weeks we did a few sessions, and people were really benefiting and from the comments we were receiving and the questions we were receiving. And then once things settled, we realized that people love the format, and there's nothing similar as well. And we continued. Since then, Cafe now is in its second season.
Mm-hmm.
And it was an addition to helping newcomers in one more way to learn and discuss topics that maybe we can't discuss on TV. And that's not the only thing. The cafe is not the only thing that we did during the pandemic, by the way. We had some other achievements as well.
Yeah, and I like what you're saying, because previously we talked about what we can do as an individual level, what you as a person can do. And this is another challenge that you faced. And you, in that creative process, you hit a block again. And what you did, you start breaking whatever you were doing before and start bonding new ways, and you tap into the interpersonal aspect. You talk to your team, you start brainstorming ideas, what you can do. So we're not alone. We can go to others and start brainstorming and finding ways of different perspective, different ways of doing things. We don't just have to stay in our own bubble and wait for something to happen to help us. So I like how you use the creative process in a different way this time with this opportunity. And what about the new series, ebook series? Because recently
that's the other thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
That's the other thing. So there's a lot of information on our website, on our TV show, on our virtual chat series, Cafe New Canadians, and but newcomers have different needs as well, and each consumes information in a different way. So we also wanted to give them the opportunity to get one resource which kind of includes about one topic or one area, all the information that they need, like the juice of the information, I would say. And we didn't have ebooks on our platform, so we wanted to launch ebook series where if they need information or help or support in one area, that ebook will include all the resources or everything that we've done in about that in one document that they can consume. I would say they can download or they can consume. And the first ebook, Gabriela, we're thankful that you agreed to write the first ebook that we published about job search for introverted newcomers. So it was launched in November, late November, and since then people are keep downloading it, and we're receiving good feedback as well. And we're now preparing for the second ebook, which would be about pre-arrival. So the things you can do and you need to learn or prepare before you come to Canada, so that your Canadian journey would be more successful, and whether it's employment, whether it's housing or other stuff, you succeed faster.
Yeah, thank you so much for asking me to write this ebook. It's kind of a summary of my big book, 300 pages, condensed in kind of 40 pages. But I really loved the challenge because I put there kind of the big picture view that people need to have in mind, because they can go out and receive all kind of information and details, but they might miss the bigger picture. And that's what I did with that ebook, Job Search Guide for Introverted Newcomers. And I wrote it in a way that is not only for newcomers. Anyone who goes through a change, it could be a career change, it could be starting a business. You go through this creative process to kind of reinvent yourself to find your way in the new direction. And this is another layer. So we talked about individual, interpersonal. We can also talk about kind of the organizational level, because we contributed, we had a collaboration, New Canadians, with Introverts Academy to create this ebook. So for us, it's also a way to get the word out and increase our visibility, so we can help more people this way by tapping into each other resources and network. And I have another feedback for you. Linda said that she really enjoys the spontaneity of Cafe New Canadian. So see, these interactions are working and we get feedback right away. Thank you, Linda.
Thank you, Linda.
Yeah.
Yeah. The nice thing about to Linda's comment, this why we wanted that. Usually in the immigrant serving sector, when they plan a webinar or they weeks in advance, they promote it and stuff. In our position, we were able to benefit from our TV experience and deal with it as a newscast. So if you're a news reporter, you get your assignment in the morning, and your news story goes live, let's say at 6 p.m. news or earlier now with multimedia as well. So we wanted to be up to date, kind of what's happening on the immigrant landscape that we need to discuss, and we don't worry about that time space as well, that we need to promote longer to get the maximum audience. On creatively thinking, we reverse the process. Let's create the content, and then we have all these avenues that we can take the content to put it in front of the audience that needs it. So out of the virtual content that's being produced, we're coming up with articles covering certain aspects of some of the discussions. We're coming up with TV content and taking that virtual session to 85,000 viewers across Canada every week. And taking it to our newsletter or to our social channels. So thinking creatively, and I would say, let's create a great content, and then let's take it to using our avenues that we've built all these years to put that good content, helpful content in front of the audience that needs it. And that's what some newcomers miss, that creative thinking, I would say. I mentioned earlier that the immigration is challenging, right? So no matter how much you've prepared, it is challenging, and you wouldn't start from where you wish to start. So you have two options. You can either complain or give up, and that will only take you backwards, or you can see what you can do to move forward. You might not reach where you initially wanted to reach, but you will get closer to where you wanted, one step at a time.
Or at a better place.
Or a better place, yes, or a better place. Coming to my situation, through my work with New Canadians TV show, now I don't want to go back and work in news. I want to work on New Canadians itself and grow it even bigger. And because I enjoy the work, because my work, and when I say I also represent a team. Now it's not just me anymore. Our work is impacting people, and there's no bigger satisfaction and joy than when you feel that you are making positive change, positive impact on the lives of many, many immigrants who are watching you, not just from Canada, but from India, from Colombia, from Lebanon, from Egypt, and they are sending you thankful messages how you help them. Each is being helped in a different way. every person is consuming the same information in different way, but all are benefiting, and that's personally gives me satisfaction. But I know my team members as well; they also get satisfaction, and not just the first ebook where we collaborated with you, Gabriela. We're also collaborating on a number of other ebooks. The pre-arrival ebook is a collaboration as well, and the third ebook, I won't say what's the topic of the third ebook, but it's probably it will be published in March. It's a collaboration because I believe in collaboration personally. You know that, and it's a value or concept I always talk to newcomers. In addition to networking, in addition to mentoring, collaboration, because in some of our cultures from where we come from, we're used to be the boss or kind of act in that way that you don't need the help of someone else, or you can do it yourself. And yes, in Canada you can do it yourself as well, but if you collaborate, the result will be much better, much bigger, and much impactful than if it would have been otherwise, if you were on alone. And there's the proverb that I think African proverb that if you want to go far, you have to go with others, right? Yeah.
If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to
Yeah,
go
far, yeah.
go together. Yeah.
So collaboration is a beautiful thing. So
yeah, it is, and we are both introverts, and one of the innate characteristics of introverts is collaboration. Extroverts like more competition, confrontation, so it comes naturally to us to collaborate. And I love, that's why I put here the comment that Linda made. This job search guide is helpful for all introverts, not just newcomers. And that's why I wrote it, because I talked in that book about the introvert strengths and how they can leverage those strengths in the job search to be more successful. Because a lot of job search advice we hear from other people, it's more targeted toward extroverted behavior. Go meet people, go talk to others, do this, do that. But when you start looking from an introvert perspective, you might not be willing to, it might not come naturally to you, and you look awkward when you're doing and you're not at ease in a situation. So when you start leveraging your own strengths, like I mentioned in the book, you can become more successful. So this is why I accepted to write that book. Do you think you'll have this ebook series on Amazon so more people can find them?
yes, currently they can download it from the URL that's being displayed on the screen, and it's free, by the way. So they can download it anytime, and also share this link with anyone they think would benefit from this ebook. Soon, in the next few weeks, it should be also available on Amazon. If someone wants a print copy, so they can order it from Amazon, a print copy. But now and anytime, it will also be available. It will always be available on the New Canadians website at this URL. Yes, we will. Yeah, we will make all our ebooks available also, because some people, including myself, I always like also the. I wouldn't call myself old school, but I like to attach an ebook. So even when it's available on Amazon, I would order a copy for myself.
Yeah, you can even make a collection of books if you want to. Let's say the first 10 ebooks, you can group them and sell them together. So for those who don't look at the video, just watch them. The link is newcanadians.tv/job-search-ebook. newcanadians.tv/job-search-ebook. So yeah, it's free. Yes.
Yeah, if they, I mean, to make it even easier as well, if they go on the New Canadians website, there's one of the on the right sidebar, they would see a small banner about the ebook, and it takes them directly to the ebook itself.
Oh, good. Yeah. Much easier. So, do you think there is any connection between failure, creativity, and success?
Yes, of course. So they always say that you wouldn't succeed if you don't fail. So you need to fail a few times in order to succeed afterwards. Failure, I think, it forces you to find solutions. And so either you give up and surrender, and unfortunately, it happens to some immigrants. But it also forces you to find solutions, and sometimes the solutions would be easy, obviously, but sometimes you have to be creative. So you have to think out of the box, be
Open up,
flexible,
open your mind.
or out of the be flexible, be open, be observe your surroundings, and sometimes the answers are in front of you. You just need to see them. Bringing it to my experience as well, my initial days, yes, I failed. The whole plan I had made for 3 years, and I was dreaming. It missed the initial phase that I completely didn't think of. My so I could either go back from where I came from,
Mhm.
or just give in to some of the advice that was given to me
Mhm.
here, like working in construction, for example, or in cleaning or some other stuff. Because or be persistent and try to create a path forward. And sometimes you have to be flexible that the path forward might not be exactly what you wanted initially. And then you should embrace change positively. So you shouldn't feel that it's something bad or it's something less value. In my case, my whole experience was in broadcast news, right? So I couldn't get into broadcast news for various reasons. The sector is very challenging. So I wanted to build my path forward. So I used my skills,
Mhm.
but instead of producing a news story that would go into the newscast and people will watch it at home, I used my skills to help not-for-profits get their message out. It was still the story, it was still video,
It's
but
a
the
different
broadcast,
perspective. Looking at your skills, but from a different perspective, kind of a
yes,
more meaningful.
yeah. It's just now I was making, let's say, this is working for clients, I say, because we do video production and content creation for not-for-profit organizations. So instead of that story, that video to go on TV in the newscast at 6 p.m., it went on the not-for-profit's website, for example, or their social media channel, or their newsletter. Just the avenue changed, how it's distributed, but it's still storytelling, it's still video, it's still graphic design
Mhm.
that I was using. And while all doing all this work, we also, and personally, I also do media production through producing New Canadians. So I still work in TV, but instead of working as an employee for a news channel like I used to do before, now I'm working for myself, where I learned new skills, I learned new things, because before I didn't need to worry about some things. Let's say I need to have a camera person, or I need to invoice, or have a video editor. Or before, the channel had the video editors, and I just booked one without thinking about the cost that person needs to, because I wasn't paying that person. But now I need to manage that. I need to learn. I needed to learn, and so my skills, my learnings expanded. So why would I see this in a negative lens? On the contrary, I would see it in a positive lens. That now I'm more experienced than I was when I came to Canada. I'm more knowledgeable,
Mhm.
and I'm more, in fact, impactful now. My work is more impactful than what I used to 10, 11 years ago.
Yeah. And I want to give an example because you're talking about your journalist background, that it's very helpful in what you're doing right now. So it's not too far from your experience previously, let's say. I want to give an example that it's a little bit more drastic change. After I came to Canada, I realized that I don't want to continue in engineering. So I changed to coaching. I really love that field. And I started working for organizations, helping clients, doing workshops every day. And for an introvert like me, it was too much. I got tired and I got the symptoms of a burnout, and I couldn't talk for 4 months. I could just say, I'm sick, I'm tired, I cannot do anything else. But what I did, I tapped into the creative process. I said, what can I do the rest of my life if I cannot talk anymore? And the next thought was to start writing the book. The first book I was talking about, Introverts Leverage Your Strengths for an Effective Job Search. And that put me on a different path, not a different, kind of starting a path where I incorporated everything from the past, but it took me in a direction that I didn't envision before. And now I enjoy writing. I enjoy using different strategies. And that book, for example, became an Amazon bestseller in 7 countries and won an award because I used my strategic thinking in structuring the book, because I use my business background. I have an MBA into how to promote that book as a product. I build the momentum before I launch it, during the launch, and after. So you're not losing anything from the past. Like you're saying, you're just adding new skills.
Yes.
Yeah,
adding new skills and using your existing skills to, maybe in a different way, or maybe slight. I mean, you need to modify or adjust sometimes, but it's the same skills you had, and you're adding on top of it new skills and new learnings, new experiences that you didn't have before, and those new additions make you a better person. So whether you are forced to change or you change by choice, change is good. So if you always hear about people, they study something and they work something just because their maybe parents forced them to do, or I don't know, that was the trending occupation, profession in their country, but they are not happy. So moving to a new country is also a good opportunity to change if you want to. If you don't, I mean, that's fine. So, but you have to be able to creatively assess and
periodically assess.
Yeah, and see how you want. Case, I felt that I can use my skills, the same skills I had, in a better way for a better purpose. If I start New Horizons Media and I work with on my own business and on the projects I like, instead of working for an employer, for example. But I know I'm not saying that everyone needs to change, but if you want to change or if you need to change, you can make it a very positive experience, and you should embrace it very positively.
Yeah, we have to comment and a question from Brent. Great learning for newcomers, Gerard, on how your skills in TV media were transferable to your new career at New Horizons Media. And the question is, did you need to make a mindset change in making the leap to entrepreneur? Because that's what you're doing. You're an entrepreneur, a business owner right now. So what kind of mindset change did you need to get to this point? To be successful and building a business that it's all over Canada and people outside Canada can have access to?
In my case, so I did it gradually. So I wasn't, I should say, I wasn't ready at the beginning, maybe to make the jump, the full jump. So I used to work for an employer, and I had 1 day free a week. So my work was 4 days a week, and at that time I had done the volunteering production at Rogers TV. So all the not-for-profits that were working with immigrants in Toronto, they knew about me and knew about skills. So they started approaching me beyond the shows, because they had needs, they had communication needs, they wanted advice, they wanted help, they wanted solutions. And on the other hand, I was the founder of an immigrant network for media professionals. So there was talent, and there was, so I said, okay, let me, and I wanted to produce the TV show, to continue producing on my own. I thought at that time, let me produce it as a company instead of producing it as Gerard, because it will sound better.
Mm-hmm.
So I set up, I took a business course, and I set up New Horizons Media. So the course was at the Toronto Public Library. And so initially it was 1 day a week, and eventually that 1 day wasn't enough. And I asked to work 3 days a week with my employer and dedicate 2 days to New Horizons Media. But later I realized, and this went on for 2-3 years, but later I realized that I want to be on my own, because my ideas were much bigger, and I could use my skills into better use than where I was. And I made the jump. I should say it's scary at the beginning, and it's challenging, but I enjoy the challenge. And I would say make good connections, and build a good network. Take good care of yourself mentally, and know what you want. So I've made some mistakes, and I've paid the price for those. But if you believe in what you want to do as a business, as an entrepreneur, give it a fair kind of research. Know that your idea is a good idea, has a fair chance of succeeding, and connect with people. In my case, for example, it was scary being on my, I took the course at Toronto Public Library, for example, and it was 8 weeks, and we finished the course, and there was no networking time during the course itself. It was a very short break, and suddenly I found myself alone. So how I learned all this for over 8 sessions, but now I have to implement what I learned, but I'm alone. Then I thought, okay, I'm an immigrant entrepreneur, and there are other immigrant entrepreneurs as well. How about we start a meetup and we connect once a month, and we continue learning from each other, from other experts we could invite, from we can benefit from connections we make. So that's how I met my graphic designer, for example, the first one. That's how I met my printer. Because you meet people, you might not have something at that time, but then, hey, I need a business card. So who I know, I went to the graphic designer I had met. So be creative to create that environment around you that helps you, that supports you to move forward. And different people might react differently. Initially, I was very cautious, but now I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid to do what I want, and then trust my abilities to find the solution or the funding or whatever I need to do that. So now I've always been passionate, but I'm more courageous, I would say, more take bigger risks than I used to before.
Yeah, if you noticed, you have a comment here. Abiodun says your work it's inspiring for newcomers. He's working with newcomers as well. And we also have a question from Brent. He's asking me this time, did you receive any opposition from your network in moving away from engineering to coaching? How did you address this pushback? Yes, I did. And actually, I talked about this in the chapter of one of my books. It's called jumping into the void, because that's how it feels if you look at it. When you want to make a shift like this from one direction to a totally different one, it feels like jumping into the void. And a lot of people don't understand, you know your reasons, you know why you want to do the change. In my case, I was not satisfied by engineering, by the technical field, and I discovered coaching, and I loved the coaching. It was a very good match for my personality, and I enjoyed helping people. So I have a good reason to change, but I didn't understand that. And when I start walking that path, that's why I put that chapter into the Introverts Academy learning platform. It's called Jumping into the Void, for people who are changing careers or starting a new business, because that's what you're dealing with. You're dealing with mindset change in yourself. You get into that imposter syndrome. I don't know if you've had it, Gerard, when you start something new and you don't know, because people don't know what you know. You're just starting, you're wondering, am I good enough or not? And when people around you are saying, why do you make the change? You have a very good career, you're well paid. It doesn't make sense to do the change. So you have all those people around you that kind of drain your energy, and you have your own inner thoughts about, am I good enough? Do I have what it takes? So you have a lot of things to deal with. So what I did, I hang on my purpose. I realized why I wanted a change. And every time when I was down, or someone was telling me not to go in that direction, I just bounced back. I reconnected with what I wanted to do. I reconnected with how I felt when I was on the new direction, on the new path. And that step by step, build that courage that you're talking about, build those skills to deal with these situations better and better, so you don't lose that momentum. Because if you don't pay attention, it's very easy to step back into your previous path that is not satisfying, and you might get again into frustration, stress, even burnout, if you're not doing those, not taking those steps. So if you want to add something, Gerard.
Yeah, to your point, people give advice and ideas, and I don't doubt their intentions. I got advice as well, but it's up to me, and it's up to the person to decide what to take from this advice. Obviously, you need to ask people. You need to check that, is your idea good? Are the steps you're taking good, or is there anything you need to change? And people would help, and they are good intentions. So I'm not kind of criticizing that part, but only you know yourself and your needs, and you will bear the consequences as well. I can give you advice, but the next minute I won't be here. I might not be here, and you will bear the consequence if you take my advice, right? So in my case, for example, imagine one of the employment counselors I met initially, and not his fault, because his surrounding was like that. I didn't know at that time. The whole backyard of the agency was an industrial zone. So his connections were with industrial companies. So I was going to check, these are my skills, and I'm not able to get into media. Which sectors or which kind of areas I could transfer them to, right? Can you help me? Because first he didn't understand, but he didn't admit that he didn't understand me and he couldn't help me. And I was shy at that point to say that, hey, you're not able to help me, let me go somewhere else. So he didn't let go of me, but he took the discussion to eventually checking my physical, if I'm good physically and I can handle. Why? Because he was going to connect me to construction jobs. I don't have anything about construction job, but it's not for me, and it's not what I want. So the person should decide what advice to take from the advice given. And to immigrants who are considering also a small business or venturing into small business, it's always good to start as an employee for some time and not make the jump directly, because you need that. Similarly to looking for employment, there are many steps you need to take, right? You need to build a network, you need to be known, to showcase your skills. It's exactly similar in entrepreneurship. yes, you start the business. It's so easy to start a business. In 5 minutes, I can start a company now. But hey, who will do I business with? I need clients. I need
Do they
a
trust
network.
you? Do you have the
Yes,
credibility? Yeah.
yes. And so you need a network. Maybe you don't get a job from them, but they will refer you, or they will be the word of mouth, or that will give others confidence and trust to do business with you. And that's how it happened in my case. But and one other thing I would add as well, some counselors make that kind of give that impression. Having going into business or entrepreneurship is not of less value than finding a job, working in an employment. So it's not, if you go and search for a job, if you didn't find, then okay, start your business. I wouldn't present it that way. I would say it's of equal value and importance. It's not just for everyone. So if it's for you, then pursue it, but come up with that strategy and enough time to pursue it.
Yeah, and if we bring back the creative process, it's what you were saying. Stay in touch with people who go in the same direction. If you're starting an entrepreneurial journey, I was starting with coaching. I was starting my coaching business as well. I stay in touch with people who are going in the same direction, and I spend less time and less quality time with people who knew me before, who didn't understand why I'm shifting in a new direction. And even some people didn't want to talk to me anymore. Some people didn't allow me to use the word coaching anymore when I'm talking to them. So why should I continue to talk to those people when I can find people who can understand me, who are going through the same challenges to build something, to stand up for themselves? And through those connections, you can get that support that maybe your previous network doesn't allow you to, doesn't give you. So it's what you did, that cafe. What you called it for the entrepreneurs?
Initially, I did it as personally. I called it the Immigrant Cafe, and with the help of the Toronto Public Library, I did it personally for about over a year. Then it grew bigger than that, and that's when I brought it under New Horizons Media. So it's one of the divisions of New Horizons Media. In addition to the creative services and New Canadians, the third division is the Immigrant Business Network. So now it's that community where we help immigrants and newcomers, refugees connect to entrepreneurship resources, connect to each other, build relationships, learn from each other. And we're still having, before COVID, we were still having in-person meetups, cafe. So we called it Immigrant Business Cafe. We rebranded it. But it also grew into a bigger event, an annual event that we call it Immigrant Business Expo. Initially, it started in Toronto with the help of the city of Toronto, and the mayor was at most of our events. Mm-hmm. But it also expanded to other cities, Hamilton, Kitchener-Waterloo, and now because of COVID, we also are expanding virtually, I would say. And we're having our virtual edition next month on February 19th, the Virtual Immigrant Business Expo. So even to be creative or to be positive, bringing it back to the creative or positive thinking, even the pandemic has its benefits. It feels weird to say that, but even the pandemic has its benefits. And in regards to the Immigrant Business Expo, for example, now we're having an additional one more edition virtually, and we'll be able to help across Canada in one event, and also people who are immigrating to Canada who are still overseas and they are interested in pursuing business ideas, business projects, and they would be able to join that event as well.
Yeah, if you talk about again about that creative process, break, bond, and build, I see the pandemic in that breaking phase. So it's kind of breaking ways of doing that doesn't work anymore, ways of thinking that doesn't work anymore. It forces us to be more creative, to bond new information, new ways of doing, new ways of thinking, to build something new. And we take here a last question, and then you can tell us how people can find you. So Abiodun is asking you, if you rewrite your entrepreneurial journey in Canada, what you have done differently?
What would I have done differently? I would have jumped into entrepreneurship a bit earlier than when I jumped, and I wouldn't have been afraid to take bigger steps at the beginning. So I hesitated a bit. Even after making the jump, I hesitated a bit. So as I mentioned earlier, I was very kind of cautious and a bit afraid to take big steps. So I wasted some time, I would say, but always there's good thing in everything, and even though this hesitation and or it helped me eventually, I would be, if I do it again, I would do it with big pleasure. I will just do it the jump earlier and bigger.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think what helped you, that hesitation actually, it helped you build the courage to take bigger and bigger risks and get it to the next level. So I see like a buffer between where you were before and where you are right now. That's maybe why you needed that hesitation, to help you gradually build that mindset, because the mindset doesn't change overnight if you don't see the results. And a lot of people want to make a change, and they start going in the direction and they don't see any result and they give up. But if they continue, they will see those results. So you need to build gradually that mindset. So maybe it was a purpose for that hesitation that you had.
Yeah.
So how people, yes, go ahead.
So before just mentioning how people can find me, I would again stress the mental health part of things. Whether you're looking for and I advise immigrants all the time, whether you're looking for a job or you're planning to start a business, it's always important to take care of yourself. And in the initial phase, people are desperate to find a job, and so for them, Sunday is like Monday, is like Saturday. They keep kind of sending resumes and stuff, but there's a lot you can do for free in Canada on weekends. So take that time, re-energize yourself, and then be more positive or be more productive on Monday morning. You will land that job or that business project or whatever you're pursuing easier. So even in the pandemic, if not on Saturday, on Sunday, I go out. I go out to parks. I go out. I couldn't meet people. That's fine. I wouldn't take that as an obstacle, but I could still enjoy nature.
Mm-hmm.
So that's very, very important.
And that applies not only to newcomers, to new immigrants, that applies to anyone, because mental health is important. So we need to balance what we're doing and for, let's say, living with the well-being of being a person. And that mental health that people are talking about, it's more about having a balance between the mental and the physical and spiritual, if you want to talk about that. So if we don't have that balance at one point, it kind of throw us out of our normal metabolism.
Yes. Because the immigration experience is very, it takes a toll on you. It affects your mood, it affects your sleep, it affects your that anxiety, that even it goes on way after you find that job, you start that business, or you find your housing and everything. It stays for a while, so it's not easy. So that's why it's I would stress again that take good care of your mental health. And
before saying that, because we're talking about mental health, I know that you came to Canada with a cat.
Yes,
and the pandemic, tell us how it helped you on the mental health side, or balancing these aspects that we were talking about.
Yeah, I had a cat in Dubai. I've always been a pet person. I used to have cats and dogs. So while in Dubai, I had a cat. So she immigrated with me, and she passed away like about 2.5 years ago or 3 years ago. And after a short period of grief, I was ready to get the next pet. And at the beginning of COVID, I got a cat, and then I got his brother. It was they were the fifth and sixth cats in my life, but they were the first Bengals I have, and they really helped me to take out the stress from me, and to take away the anxiety, and also they help me connect with nature. I take them out. I take them to parks. I take them to the lakeshore. So during the pandemic, I've explored different parts of Ontario with my cats, and they are an interesting creature in this. They force me, or they to pause, pay attention to the small details, enjoy the small things that previously maybe I didn't notice, because walking a cat is not like walking a dog. So you have to be patient and do it at their pace, not at your pace. So they help me a lot, and I'm thankful that I have two cats, and if I could, even I would have more than one, or more than two.
Yeah, and I can share. I follow on Instagram Figaro.Peppo account. The
Yes.
Peppo used to be. And I found it very interesting, because when after I'm working on computer and doing a lot of work related stuff, I want something to cheer me up, and I look at that account, and you post a lot of videos with them, and they are funny, and you can see how they curious they are, how they look around, and you're just kind of taking everything away. You disconnect with whatever stress you had, or what you're accumulating during the day, and it really helps you. So if people want, they can follow your
even it started as a fun initially, but even managing their Instagram account is a great mental health tool for me, because I disconnect from my kind of the few minutes I used to post some content on their channel. I disconnect from my own world, and I live in their world, and there's so much we can learn from pets. So so they can find my pets on Instagram at figaro.peppo, and they can find me as well on Instagram. It's my G Keledjian on Instagram, but they can find me on LinkedIn, Gerard Keledjian. If they search, they can find me. They can then they're I'd be happy to connect, and I'm also on Twitter at G Keledjian on Twitter, and they can always also connect with me through the New Canadians website. So if they send an email through the Contact Us section on the New Canadians website, newcanadians.tv, or the New Horizons Media website, I would receive copies of those emails, so they can email me through there. And if they want to connect through resources, or get the Yuri book about introverted newcomers, or the upcoming ebooks on pre-arrival, or the other topics that we will be working on, they can subscribe to our newsletters. It's one newsletter a month that they would get all these resources.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Gerard, for your time, for sharing your stories, and for being here with us. And all the best with your creative journey in wherever it takes you from now on.
Thank you, Gabriela, for the opportunity, and thank you everyone who joined live today, or who's watching the recording later. Thank you, and take care.
Okay, thank you.